There is a curious tendency in human beings. We are almost always busy thinking. We think when we walk. We think when we work. We think when we were trying to rest. There is a constant dialogue inside the mind, a kind of internal narrator that comments everything that happens. This narrator evaluates, compares, criticizes, recalls the past, and imagines the future. And in a way, we believe that this is simply what it means to be alive. But there is an important question that we rarely ask. What happens when we stop thinking for a moment? Not just being quiet externally, but truly interrupting this internal stream of commentary. Because when this flow slows down, something interesting happens. Reality begins to appear differently. Normally, we do not experience the world directly. We experience our thoughts about the world. When we see a tree, we do not just see the tree. We think, what a beautiful tree. This tree looks old. I think I've seen one like this before. When we meet a person, we do not just see them. Judgments, memories, and expectations immediately arise. Our mind creates a layer of interpretations between us and reality. And over time, we begin to confuse this layer of thoughts with the world itself. But thoughts are just thoughts. They are descriptions, comments, ideas. And a description is never the same thing as what it describes. A menu describes a meal, but no one is nourished by reading a menu. In the same way, our ideas about reality are not reality itself. This difference may seem small, but it has enormous consequences in the way we live. Think, for example, about something that occupies a large part of human concerns: money. Money is extremely useful. It helps us organize exchanges and measure economic value. But, in essence, money is just a symbol. It is a form of accounting. Just as centimeters measure length and kilograms measure weight, money measures wealth. But it is not wealth itself. Imagine being alone on a deserted island with a suitcase full of cash and financial documents. They would have practically no value. What would really matter would be food, water, shelter, and human companionship. In other words, what sustains life? However, we often spend our entire lives chasing symbols instead of the reality they represent. We accumulate numbers, signs, and representations, and forget to ask whether we are truly living well. This same kind of confusion happens when we think about who we are. From an early age, we receive definitions about ourselves. We are told that we are intelligent or slow, strong or weak, successful or failures. Over time, we build a mental image called me. This image is made up of memories, stories, labels, and expectations. But this image is not exactly who we are. It is just an idea about ourselves. A living organism is something extremely complex, a process in constant transformation, full of possibilities and changes. But the idea we have about ourselves is usually rigid and limited, and we often suffer because we believe too much in this idea. We think, I am like this. I have always been like this. I cannot change. But these statements are more stories than facts. Another deep source of confusion in human life is time. Almost everyone today says the same phrase, I don't have time. We live rushing between commitments, plans, and worries. But curiously, we rarely pay attention to the only moment that truly exists, the present. We think about the past with regret or nostalgia. We think about the future with anxiety or hope. And meanwhile, the present goes almost unnoticed. On our clocks, the present seems to be just an infinitely thin line between past and future. But in reality, the present is all that exists. The past only exists as memory now. The future only exists as imagination now. Every experience happens in this moment. And there is something even more curious. We often believe that we are only the result of the past. We say things like, I am like this because of my childhood, or I am like this because of what happened to me. Although the past certainly influences our lives, it does not determine everything. At every moment, we are participating in the creation of the present. And the present, in turn, is constantly creating what we call the future. This shift in perspective can be liberating. It suggests that life is not just something that happens to us. In a certain sense, we are actively participating in it. But there is a reason why many people resist realizing this, because accepting this idea means taking responsibility for one's own consciousness. It is more comfortable to believe that we are just products of circumstances. However, when we begin to pay closer attention to reality, without so many interpretations and mental narratives, we notice something interesting. Many of our anxieties decrease. Many of the illusions that seemed so solid begin to disappear, and the world becomes more direct, simpler, and more alive. This does not mean abandoning thought or rejecting ideas. Thinking is a wonderful ability. But thinking is a tool, and problems arise when the tool begins to dominate the one who uses it. Perhaps wisdom is not in thinking more and more, but in knowing when to stop, in allowing moments of mental silence. Moments in which we simply perceive the world without needing to immediately turn it into words. Because in these moments, something curious happens. Life stops seeming like a problem to be solved and begins to reveal itself as an experience to be lived.